everybody? Happy Thursday to you. We are almost at the end of the road. For me, I have the next, week or so kind of off. So I am just very happy. Finished putting my kids' furniture together. So one last thing, and I got them some new plants in their room just because I like the oxygen. I like to have the plants in the house. But anyways, last night I did the live stream on Paradise Lost, and we were right at the end of our overview and assessment of Paradise Lost. And again, shout out to Mythology and Fiction Explained. And what's going on, Brian? I see you. I hope everything is going well with you and yours. All blessings your way. Peace and positive vibes to you, my friend. But I kind of like I got really tired of all the commercials that we were dealing with in that last live stream that I did. So I'm like, okay, if I'll finish this in another live stream because I was just getting tired of it. YouTube got way too many commercials and ain't nobody about to buy that stuff. I literally skipped the YouTube commercials. I don't know why they want to inundate people with stuff that they just waiting for the skip button YouTube. I'm waiting for the skip button basically because I don't want to see a lot of that stuff. Is just like, what is this? Like the advertising about the you want to block ad blockers. That ad blocker ad comes on more than any other ad that I see on YouTube these days. So insane in the membrane. Insane in the membrane. But anyways, you guys, I wanted to finish up our overview of Paradise Lost because I thought that like the ending of Paradise Lost was really just it was valid and we should have just I should have went the distance. But it's like I had to work yesterday. So I wasn't off yesterday. So I was just tired. Sometimes I do my live streams right after work so that a lot of times I can just chill, afterwards, get into my home life and just max out before I go to sleep. But anyways, we're gonna get back into Paradise Lost, and I feel like the devil did not like us talking about him yesterday and his opinions, right? Because it was just that live stream was a little wonky, right? But again, this is Satan's world, and any type of enlightenment that you present in Satan's world. What's going on? I see you. I see you, JL. I don't know how to say your name. Salzabila? Salzabila? What's going on? I see you. What is it? Candy Monster. So we're talking about Paradise Lost again, and we're going to talk about the ending of the overview. And again, like I said, this is a great overview of the book. If you've never read it, if you've always been curious about this book, and again, I just want to put that disclaimer out there. Yes, I know this is a fictional work of art, okay? Yes, I understand that Christians or believers, anyone who follows the Abrahamic faith or whatever faith you follow, you do have to be cautious about secular reads because you do want to understand sort of the background of these writers, their belief systems, the root causes of their inspirations. And as I mentioned yesterday in my live stream, God has inspired men over human history to spread ideas and maintain certain idealisms throughout our creation. Up until this point, those ideas have stood. And as much as people like to refute the Bible, right? Because they're looking at like the point in which humans collected the Bible, like Council Nicaea type of stuff, right? And they're just like, well, the Bible is only this. It's like, no, the Bible is a collection of scrolls that are very old. All right. But just as God has his prophets and his disciples and those who are inspired to talk about his goodness, his good news, the stories, the Bible accounts, right? Satan has his prophets too. And this is the point I made in the other live stream, right? Nostradamus is arguably, in my mind, a satanic prophet, right? And so when I look at John Milton's Paradise Lost, I think it was just very interesting that he wanted to write a poem, talking about the fall of, Lucifer and the third of the angels and what happened after that fall from Satan's perspective. And again, I always say the devil is in the details, you guys. And sometimes the devil is going to tell his story in very creative ways by inspiring these human beings. And so I talked about, if you've read the book of Enoch and then you turn around and you read Dante's Divine Comedy, you're going to see those parallels, because Satan is a copycat and he enjoys mocking God, right? That is his thing. He's not original, right? That's why you got so many copycat humans, right? Because they're not original, right? But what's going on, Annie? I see you. Quintana, I see you too. We're talking about the end. If you didn't catch the first overview of Paradise Lost, just go ahead. You can look at that live stream that was last night. I'm just trying to finish out this live stream here with the ending, because it was only like a couple of more minutes. So we're going to pick up when Satan has started planting the seeds in Eve to sin. And again, sin is something that requires planting, right? And this is where you get into more your MK Ultra mind control things. What these people are really doing is introducing the minds to visuals, ideas that, plants seeds of memory in their minds, right? And they're tormenting seeds in memory, and it impacts how these people operate a lot of times. And so this is what Satan is doing to Eve at this point. We can say that Satan is the first MK Ultra type of account in human history, if you were a believer in the Bible, okay? Because he's straight MK Ultraing Eve right now. So let's go.
Voices that she could hear coming from the tree of knowledge. Following the whispers, she then sees what she believes is an angel eating fruit from the tree. The angel encourages Eve to taste for herself. Here, happy creature, fair angelic Eve, partake thou also. Happy thou art, happier thou mayst be. Worthier canst not be. Taste this, and be henceforth among the gods, thyself a goddess, not to earth confined. The angel is trying to persuade Eve by insinuating she could become a goddess by merely tasting the fruit. Before Eve is able to do so, the angel disappears and she wakes from her dream. Adam is fairly concerned, but does his best to reassure Eve that this was just a dream and not an indication of the future, because Eve, just like Adam, has free will, the gift given by God. At this point, God is fully aware of Satan's plan. However, he still believes his human creation can exercise their free will. He sends for the Archangel Raphael, instructing him to go to Eden and explain why the fruit is forbidden, or at least explain the differences between food that is considered earthly and heavenly. At least then it has been explained to them. When Satan comes...
Oh shit, they hear this. This thing is full of commercials. All right, so Satan has planted the seeds, and we see Satan plants the seeds in very creative ways, right? You see the little trans agenda thing with the kids. Like, that doesn't work unless you are nurturing from a very young age, planting seeds of doubt, of identity, right? And so this is basically what Satan is doing with Eve right now. God told her, told her and Adam, don't partake of this tree of the knowledge and good and bad, right? If you do, the day you do, right, you will positively die, right? And really, we know that Adam and Eve did not die the day that they partook of the fruit, but it was really them in death entering into the equations of their perfect human bodies, right? So humans exercise their free will, right? And unfortunately, as a result of our first human parents, right, according to the Bible, right, they pass on the disease of sin and death to future generations. So this is why we are all marked for death. We grow old, we die. And even when you see towards the earlier days of humanity, God really, Adam was living, like, these guys were living 900 something years. And so God, eventually decided that it was better and more appropriate to cut the days of men to 120 years. And so this is why you really don't see too many people on earth living beyond 120 years, you know, at this point in the game. But the lifespans of humanity were actually longer in the beginning. Then they started getting shorter, obviously, with diseases, and then they kind of got slightly longer. But again, humans are not going to live past 120 years. All right, so let's go back to the past the commercial.
Know that eating from the tree is forbidden. If they choose to exercise their free will knowing this, then their punishments are their own. Raphael does explain these differences to Adam, who in turn is expected to relay this information to Eve. When Adam questions why any creature of God would willingly disobey him, Raphael tells him the story of Satan and his fall from grace as a cautionary tale. Heaven was always a place of peace.
And again, I want to make note here, and I think it is notable too, and I'm not absolving Eve of anything, right? Because she is the one who persuaded her husband with, I think she had the P power. I think very early on in human creation, women have been able to use the vagina to just get men to make really bad decisions, right? Not blaming everything on Eve, right? Because again, Eve was getting this information from her husband. God was speaking directly to Adam. That Raphael and Satan's, even in Satan's rendition, right? The information is being funneled through Adam, right? You don't see Eve here. You see the angel speaking directly to the man, right?
God announced he had created a son that he wished to rule with him. One angel in particular took issue with this and voiced his frustration and
because Lucifer is a narcissist, right? So the very idea that of all these angels, right, there would be one among them that would rule alongside God, that really irked his little narcissistic mind. I mean, mind you, he's like, I'm the light bearer. I am beautiful. I am the most beautiful angel up in here. Everybody's marveling at how beautiful I am, right? This is Lucifer's mind, like, and you're talking about somebody else. And again, those conflicts between brothers, and I'm going to say it again, me personally, I believe that Yahusha is, or Jesus in English, right? That's his earthly name, right? I believe that Lucifer was beefing with Michael, and I believe that Michael is the Son of God that came down to sacrifice his life. And I think there's a deflection from that because, again, if you water down the deeper meanings of things and you omit books from the Bible, people are not going to be able to understand the deeper meanings of things, that there were conflicts among the spiritual sons that really trickled into the fleshly sons, right? Many of them hated that we were created, and this is the overall thing. They had a supremacy. That's why the overall theme of the Bible is sovereignty. Who has the right to rule mankind? Is it mankind? Is it Lucifer with all his, free will unchecked, right? Or is it, the creator with a divine balance and rules that actually keep people safe, humble, and living longer lives, right? The devil is like, do as thou wilt, right? And that hasn't really worked out too well for humanity, right? With people running around with attitudes like that, right? So the overall theme of the Bible is sovereignty. Who has the right to rule mankind? And, obviously this is a conflict that pulls, humans as, again, according to Paradise Lost, these fallen angels were like, we can't beat those guys up there, but what we can do is corrupt this middle earth creation, right, with this proxy war. And that's basically what mankind has been engaging with. That's why, this is not just, we're not just dealing with the conflicts of man, we're dealing with the principalities of flesh and spirit. But a lot of people are dissolved from that because, again, we only believe what we see, right? even though people don't really realize that even some of the people that they glorify, that they admire, that they are even tapped into these energies. Which energies, it depends on what they're doing in life. You can kind of tell who's tapped into satanic energies because they're running around screwing people over unapologetically for personal gains, right? They have no consciousness of screwing people over, right? And then these are the same types of people that they would want us to feel bad for when they get the consequences of their actions in some form, right? And now they want to victimize these evil ass people, right? They were probably decent people to very few people, but for humanity, societies, they were disgusting folks. They were screwing people over. So that's just my little tiny rant on
In
that.
anger, that angel would be stripped of his heavenly name, and for his disobedience he would be known as Satan. As one of God's most loyal and trusted angels, Satan believed he deserved to rule alongside God, and thus the rebellion began. Satan convinced a third of the angels to join his cause and contest the rule in heaven. A rebellious angel by the name of Abdiel eventually saw the error of his ways and tried to convince Satan that this was not a battle that could be won. Abdiel then asked God for forgiveness, which was granted, showing that for those who seek it, there will always be redemption. This discussion continues on into Book 6, where Raphael discusses the war in heaven in some more detail. It ends with Raphael telling Adam that Satan and the other fallen angels have already begun plotting the fall of mankind. He wishes to lead Adam and Eve down the path of sin.
What's interesting to me? And it was one of those confusing points for me too, because we hear about a war in heaven, right? The war in heaven, and obviously there were a couple of wars that we actually read about in the ancient texts, right? And I was actually confused because when you get to Revelations 12:9, Brother John is talking about the war that broke out in heaven, right? And I was thinking that there was another war that actually happened in heaven, right? Sometime during the Roman Empire, because I was confused because obviously John wrote his Revelation during the Roman Empire. But I think John was just reiterating these conflicts amongst these wicked angels, right? And it's interesting that John Milton is inspired to write this rendition of how Satan felt about the fall. This is coming from Satan's perspective. And he is even acknowledging really kind of the truth of what happened here. So again, if John Milton were a person who practiced divination or tapped in to be inspired by certain energies, right? And let's just say Satan inspired him to write this, there's sort of a suggestion here that at least Satan is not deviating from the truth. He's just trying to make himself a victim in this truth. So he's acknowledging that these conversations are happening. He's acknowledging that, what went wrong, right? And throughout this whole thing, he's not you see a hints of remorse, but then you see somebody who's so prideful, or something that's so prideful that it has to stay the course, right? They're so knee deep in their rebellion that their pride won't even allow them to repent, even when repentance is on the table. And I thought it was interesting because even from Satan's perspective, you had a rebellious angel even telling Lucifer or Satan, like, hey, bro, this is a losing battle. Like, we really we should just fall back, do something else, right? We don't necessarily need to be worshiped. And he was able to repent and get forgiveness. And even with that, Lucifer turned Satan, stayed the course. And so this is all the information that Raphael is giving to Adam.
They must be weary and fearful of Satan, but they must also be brave enough to resist him. In books 7 and 8, Adam inquires about the creation of the world, and Raphael agrees to explain. After the fall of Satan and the other rebellious angels, God wished to fill these absent places. And so he found an empty part of the universe devoid of life and created the earth. If mankind showed obedience and belief in God's will, then there would be a day when the earth and heaven become one. This rather long discussion ends with Raphael returning to heaven.
So this is where it would kind of confuse me a little bit, because from this quote, Satan's rendition of creation, he's saying that, because when you read the Bible, first 7 days, God created the heavens and earth, all of the luminaries, the spiritual sons. In the book of Jubilees, you actually hear, what was created in the first 7 days, right? Mankind was not one of those creations, right? But, it's interesting because they're saying that earth wasn't created. It was the spiritual sons, they were created. Heaven was created, right? So Satan must be talking about, Satan is alluding to, or at least Milton is alluding to the fact that the fallen angels, they fell, they were getting in rebellion before the earth was created, right? And if they were in rebellion before earth was created, that means that they were in rebellion before Adam was created. So their rebellion really started in its root in heaven, not on earth, and not with the mankind's creation added fuel to the fire, I think. And according to this Satan's fictional rendition, right? Satan is pretty much saying that, like, throughout this poem, right? Satan is saying that it wasn't enough that, God was going to select a son to rule beside him that wasn't I, but then he turned around and created these fleshly sons, right? And expected for us to exalt these fleshly sons, and we think that they should be worshiping us, right? So these conflicts in heaven definitely trickle down to the conflicts in earth. I just think it's interesting that, Satan is, from his perspective, saying that they got kicked out of heaven before the earth was created, before mankind was created, because that kind of usurped a little bit of what the Bible is saying. But again, the book of Genesis is so watered down. Again, I don't believe it's the first book of the Bible. But it's so watered down that you really don't get full context to anything. It's not until you go into the book of Enoch that you actually do get fuller context to creation, the total creation, not just the creation of the earth, but the creation of the heavens, the creation of the spiritual sons, the creation of the fleshly sons. You get that complete story in the book of Enoch. Nobody's ever going to convince me that the book of Genesis is a legit first book of the Bible. And it makes more sense that the book of Enoch would be the first book of the Bible, because he was a friend to God. He was the first human in history that was considered a friend to God. Enoch walked with his father. He walked with God. And that was very significant because Enoch was the very first human, the very first fleshly creature or fleshly being that actually went from flesh to spirit. He was anointed, meaning that he went to heaven, right? When they say Enoch was no more, that is because Enoch went to heaven. He was the very first fleshly person to actually convert from flesh to spirit. This is why Enoch's story is way more significant than the clergy would want, because again, they're deflecting from the fact that there are spiritual sons. And if there are spiritual sons, right, then people on this earth worshiping popes or fleshly men as deities or representations of Christ on this earth, they would be apostates. And this is why I do believe that the clergy has a huge interest in suppressing the book of Enoch, because it will weaken the power that they have on all those weak lemmings. But anyways, let's go on.
Choice this time is a serpent. When Adam and Eve wake up the next morning, they begin their workload. However, with much to do, Eve suggests that they perform separate tasks.
So here Eve go, trying to separate herself from her husband. Let's perform separate tasks to get the work done, right? How does Adam feel about that?
They could finish double the work in the same amount of time. Reluctantly, Adam agrees and they both go off in separate directions. When Satan finds Eve, she's alone, which makes his plan much easier to accomplish.
So Satan's plan was way better accomplished by manipulating Eve, the more vulnerable one, right? The more malleable one, right? He didn't go to Adam, right, to try to manipulate him. They had separated off, right? He went to Eve, which made, and because they were separate and she was away from her husband, right? Because she had to go find him and convince him to do the same damn thing that she just did, right? Because she needed him to be on the same page of sin that she was, because she knew she was disobedient at that point.
The serpent calls out to Eve and seduces her, claiming the fruit is what gave him his intellect and the ability to speak. Knowing the fruit is forbidden, Eve attempts to resist. However, the serpent continues to flatter her with compliments of her beauty. Satan continues by asking, why would God forbid the fruit unless it possessed some kind of power that he wanted to keep for himself? Eve reached out and from the tree she plucked an apple. Surely some fruit couldn't do any harm. Adam's claims must have been exaggerated. And so she took a bite of the apple, expecting to feel something wonderful, and she did feel invigorated at first, but soon this turned into a horrible feeling, the feeling of instant regret, not knowing what.
Right, because regret wasn't something that they were perfect at that point, right? So they were not even aware that they were walking around naked, right? Because they didn't have any notion of shame, right? But the minute that she partook of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and bad, right, her eyes became open, right? And it was like that Pandora's box where, you were introduced to a plethora of things that you are too young to comprehend, right? See, really, the purpose of the angels in the beginning of man's creation were to be teachers, right? They were supposed to come down to this earth and they were supposed to teach us how things work slowly, not cramming knowledge in our head. Because what happens when you cram knowledge into somebody's head, right? They don't really know what to do with it, right? But they just have all these seeds planted everywhere. It's like a garden of stuff in their head, and they don't even know which fruits or vegetation is like the right what to do with it. So again, this tree opened their eyes to realities, feelings, emotions that they were blind to, right? And it's like, I just hate it, right? Because they always shame people for being like, nudity is like it's a crime, right? People want to run out streaking, right? But before the sin, right? Streaking was like the thing to do. Like the Garden of Eden, like if everything would have went according to plan, kind of, they would have been a bunch of naked ass people running around the Garden of Eden, right? Because they weren't aware that they were naked. They didn't have any shame of being naked. until they sinned, right? And sin that sin infiltrated into introducing them to things like shame, right? That's why they had to cover themselves up. It's like, oh, you naked, girl, go put some clothes on. You naked too, Adam?
What to do, Eve searched for Adam. If she convinced him to also eat the fruit, then their sin would be equal. When she
So now she's trying, this is that misery loves company, right? And this is a lesson for men today, right? Men who are believers, you may have a beautiful wife. She may be alluring, right? But if she's leading you down a pathway to sin, right? Because she's a sinful person and she wants your sin to be equal to hers, right? You don't have a good equitable mate. You got to probably get rid of that Jezebel.
Explained everything to Adam. His choices were very simple. If he wished to remain with Eve, then he must also consume the fruit to ensure they suffer the same fate. And so Adam also ate the fruit, and just like Eve, he felt its positive effects to begin with. The two end up having sex and falling asleep under the tree.
When they probably had some great sex that night. I mean, I can just imagine what sex with the fruit was like. It was probably amazing. It was probably just animalistic, like, God, we making babies tonight, girl. It's like, it must have been amazing, right? Because they're all invigorated, right? But what happened when they woke up?
They are met with an overwhelming guilt and shame. It's clear to them that
feeling shameful. How do you feel shameful? That's your husband, right?
That they may have just lost their paradise forever. They cover their naked bodies in leaves, and it's not long before they turn on each other, blaming one another for their fall from grace.
So remember before, if you guys read the scripture, remember Adam in Genesis, he was like, alas, this is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She was talking about Eve like real poetically, like, oh. And then after they sinned, he was like, it was the woman you gave me. Like she was defected. Like she went from bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh to the woman you gave me. They started arguing and blaming each other, right?
Book 10, the angels return to heaven to inform God of what has transpired in the garden, but he is fully aware, having observed the entire thing. They try to share the blame here as they failed to stop Satan entering the garden, but God absolves them of any guilt as he allowed this to happen. He tells them that he will send his son down to the earth to punish the sinners. When he arrives, he asks Adam and Eve if they ate from the tree. Adam admits that he did after Eve gave him the fruit, and Eve tells him that she was tricked into doing so by the serpent. Punishing all three parties here, the Son states that from now on, serpents will be cursed to forever crawl on their belly, never to rise. The children of Adam will be forced to labor all day and hunt.
And that's exactly what we do, y'all. We work all our damn lives, right? We work all our damn lives practically, and then we die.
And hunt for food. The children of Eve will give birth in pain and be forced to submit to their husbands. However, the seed of Eve will take vengeance upon the serpent. Satan begins his journey back to hell victorious, awaiting.
So, blame Eve for the increased birth pangs, y'all. Right? Listening to snakes and not her husband, right? And it's interesting because Eve had free will. At this point in the game, before they sinned, before she manipulated her husband to sin against God, right? There was no mandate for Eve to be a servant to Adam. That is not why he created us, right? She was a helper. She was a complement, right? But after they sinned, it is through Eve that the woman was pretty much cursed to servitude to her husband. right? And we got to thank Eve for this, right? But that's like, again, that servitude, does not mean that women are being mistreated by their husband. It just means that your intention is to serve him, his purpose, and to listen to him for all of your days. And if you want it to go well with you, you will do that, right? The divine balance is there for a reason, right? And for my young couples or my people thinking about getting married, you need to read the book of Ephesians, chapter 5 and 6, so that you understand the divine order, right? And, again, women, we have a lot of attitudes in the world today. And it's interesting because one of my clients, he's a young guy, and he's dealing with a modern woman, faith-based young man. And, you know, he's a victim of the Instagram woman, right? The average woman who is getting her, I guess, advice from these women on TikTok and Instagram, and comparing apples to oranges to their lives and what they deserve. And, these women are on these platforms who placating as being lush and lavish, right? And there's a lot of women who are buying into things like this, right? And they're feeling like they need that wealthy guy. And what they're doing is they're leaving good men. They're leaving actually good men, and they're basically living a dog's life, right? They become just sex objects, right? To these men at best, and they're perplexed by that. And so this brother, I told him, like, you don't need to worry about anything, because she's going to get the reality. You've had 2 children with her. So she's not the commodity that she thinks that she is, right? And there's a lot of women who are running around beside themselves. I think a lot of them, they look at money as if they're making their own money, that somehow that puts them at an elevated value above men and their men. And I think that a lot of these women, they're finding out the real reality of that, And so I was looking at this channel, and one example of this is the rapper Cardi B. Now, Cardi B has recently gone on a rant about how she doesn't want other women to humble her. Cardi is saying that, a lot of these women, you're poor, you're this, you're that, right? You don't like yourselves, right? And you have a problem with women who actually like themselves. Now, granted, there are a lot of hating ass women out there, a lot of women who are so insecure in themselves that the minute another woman walks around, they're sizing that woman up, right? Because again, women, they operate with this sometimes territorialness, right? I want to be the best looking this or that. But Cardi is talking about how she has a problem with these women trying to humble her for saying that she's a 10, right? And she doesn't like some of the backlash that a lot of these people are saying. Now, here's the thing about, people like Cardi B. When she first came out, I liked some of her music, right? I didn't think she was an organic artist. I definitely felt like she was one of those shelf life artists that the industry was pushing on people because they had an agenda. And obviously she represents the debauch whore agenda, the independent whore type of woman mentality in a lot of cases, right? And I understood that she was an agenda, right? There's multiple agendas for me associated with a Cardi B, right? But at the same time, as I kind of watch Cardi B kind of develop as this person in the celebrity space, and her relationship with her husband Offset, the one thing that I realized right away is that I didn't know how real that relationship really was, and I'm gonna tell you why. because regardless what you want to say about Offset, right? Cardi has the light skin privilege complex, right? She has a light skinned chick mentality. And there are some light skinned women, not all of them, right? Lighter complexion, fair complexion, ambiguous women who really do believe that their complexion makes them like at this elevated beauty status, right? But beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And one of the things that I notice about the Migos, Offset in general, like I notice how people put like what they project in their music videos as being what their taste is. So for example, Young Dolph, right? What like Young Dolph when he was alive, he had this video called Water on Water, right? It's probably one of the best black, pro black friendly curated video I've seen. It was just beautiful melanin, right? That was just a beautiful, beautiful. Neo is another one. He's always showing a deep melanin, beautiful woman. When I looked at that video, Bad and Bougie, right? Even the Asian chicks had deep melanin in them. And to me, it was like Offset likes brown skinned women. No matter how light skinned Cardi may be, this man is cheating on her with women that have more melanin than her. And I don't really think that, like, deep down, Offset is just one of those black men. I truly do believe that he's into darker complexion women, even though he'll play around with the light skinned ones. I really do think that he's a Dr. Umar in my mind. He wants a deep melanated queen, right? And this is why you see him popping out sometimes with women who have deeper melanin than Cardi. But off of that, I'm not going to say that Cardi B is an ugly woman, and I'm not going to tell her what to think about herself. She can think that she is Jesus reincarnated for all I care, right? But again, for me, it's like I think it's very, very sad when somebody is trying to lecture other women about not being able to say good things or positive things about themselves. And the only thing that you can say about yourself is that you're pretty, you have a nice body, you have a lot of money, right? And you have nice toes, right? She's not saying I'm intelligent. She's not saying that I'm humble. I like to pay knowledge forward to other people. I like to be of value to other people. I like to be an asset to other people. She's not saying, her value is really about the coins that she's made being a harlot and nothing more. And that's the saddest thing of all. While you lecturing women about, being lame and all this stuff like that, your value is really superficial. You evaluate yourself on all these fading qualities. Beauty fades, beauty fades, right? And Cardi, even though she keeps getting shit in her face, and eventually, you know what these Botox people start looking like is sawdowns. You look at anybody, look at Lil Kim. Lil Kim looks like a black sawdow. She looks like Joan Rivers, right? Because they're all doing these same procedures, right? And they keep trying to maintain this look, and over time, they just look like balloon faces, right? And that's exactly where Cardi is gonna end up going if she stays obsessed with her beauty like this, because she's definitely not a natural beauty. She's just not. She's a project. And I think that's probably why Offset didn't like her either, because I feel like these women running out and getting all these surgeries, I don't really feel like men respect women that do that deep down. I really do believe that even men see that insecurity, and I don't think it's something, even if they can find it attractive, right? I feel like deep down these guys aren't really respecting these surgery whores the way that they would, you would think that they would. I don't think that they're really checking for the surgery whores. But what you talking about, Cardi?
And I was talking to y'all about how I feel like some men can. I feel like men can handle dating a boss. Like, I just really feel like men can really handle dating a boss. I feel like they love the idea of dating a boss but they can handle it. Like, I feel like it messes with their with their insecurities or something, and then they also feel like they cannot have their way when they dealing with a boss bitch, because a boss, they're not gonna let niggas treat them and let them do whatever the fuck they want to do. Then I said something, watch, mind you, right? Then I said this. I said, I know this guy that literally told me that there's a reason why he be dating 6 and 7 and 8s, because a 10 is not gonna tolerate him doing what he feels like doing and having his way. So then the blogs, like always, they chopped it up and they're gonna say like, it's like, yeah, Cardi said that men can't handle her because she's a 10, blah blah blah. And I was like, I didn't say that. I said that this is why this guy said this and that, because I just feel like men cannot date boss women. So then on that same tweet, here comes a female talking about like, oh, so you think, she practically saying like, so you think you a 10? And it's like, I didn't say that, but absolutely I fucking think I'm a 10, as I should. And I tweeted everything that I like about myself. I think I have a pretty ass face when I wake up.
Vanity.
Pretty face, bomb ass body.
Vanity.
I got little feet. I love my feet. I think my feet are just so cute. Like, I love my feet. I feel like my toes are like symmetrical. I love my toenail. I love the shape of my toenail. I love my feet. I love my feet. I like my feet. A nigga don't gotta tell me they like my feet. I like my feet. I'd say every quality that I like about me. I'm street smart. I'm a hustler. I could upgrade a nigga life and I could buy a life. Like, it's like, I definitely feel like I'm a 10. Like, it's like, and everybody should feel like that,
but you don't add value to a man. Like, this is like listening to a talking blow up doll at best for me, right? Because you're not adding any. They're like, really, men. I don't think men are afraid of boss bitches. I don't think that is what it is at all. I really believe that when you have a woman that has substantially higher net worth than you, it is very hard for the man to feel like he can actually be a leader and actually set standards and expectations for the household without having this quote boss bitch usurping him, right? Because she's the boss in her mindset. So a lot of times these boss bitch women, really, they are only good for having sex with them, right? They are C-rags, right? No matter how actualized and how much money they have, they are really just walking blow-up dolls that these guys can indulge in, gas these women up. If they are a dumb boss bitch, right, they'll siphon them for a couple of dollars and then they'll be on their way when she gets tired of them. And there's no loss for him. There's never going to be a loss for a man who dates a boss bitch, because you are only penis to her at best, or an arm piece, right? A puppet, right? You need to be as beta as you possibly can, right? For these boss bitches, right? Because they're going to let you know who's in charge all the time, right? You go sideways, you don't do what she wants you to do, she's gonna emasculate you. She's gonna remind you that she's the breadwinner, she's the boss, right? And you ain't shit. So a lot of dudes, I don't think that they're afraid of boss bitches. They just don't really want those problems. It's easier for them to go and find. She said that the guy was like, he likes 6, 7, and 10 because, they're probably more flexible. He can probably deal with these women a lot better than your so-called boss bitch who is out here in the street thinking that her shit don't stink. Cardi sitting up there talking about she doesn't even have period odors, which you shouldn't have like crazy period odors, ladies. But come on now. But this is what she's saying. Yeah, you drink water, you do that, but it's still a period, Cardi. But she's running around saying that she doesn't even. That's not even.
I just know it. Like, when I just know it ever since, even when I had crooked teeth. Even when I had crooked teeth.
This girl is not even intelligent. She's like, even when I had crooked teeth, right? I knew I was a 10, right? I knew I was a 10, and it's just like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't know you were a 10 because you got them crooked ass teeth fixed. You got your whole body reconstructed. You did not know you were a 10. I mean, this is a double talking demon to me. You didn't know you were a 10, Cardi, right? Because you went out, and to me, for a while, it seemed like she was on a mission to look like Nicki Minaj. Like Nicki Minaj clearly was a 10 in her eyes, because it seemed like when she was doing all them surgeries and upgrades on her face, she was looking more and more like Onika, Tanya Mirage. So I don't know.
Like, the bitch, of course. So then when I compliment myself and I say every quality that I like about myself, here comes.
And they're all vain. This is the really sad thing about it, because she did this tweet, to where she said that, she believes in God.
But I am.
She's a God-fearing woman. And I'd be wondering, like I said, what God are these people fearing? Like, what God are you fearing running around the music industry like a slut, like a harlot, promoting that type of stuff, to women? I don't know what God these people are fearing, right? It got to be Satan. This is Satan's world. So everybody's conflating real God, the creator, with the God of this system of things, Satan, the devil. All right, let me get back to my comments. And the link to that video on Paradise Lost, I put it in the comment section of the last video I did. All right, let me go back here. All right, what's going on, you guys? Let's see. This is weird. What's going on, Adam? I see you. Hi, Rose Garden. I see you. Let's see. I haven't read a lot of these comments, but some guy said I'm a troublemaker and that I need a timeout. Let's see. A lot. You said, how fine can one woman be? I mean, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I'm always going to be a champion of women actually being beautiful on the inside. I think we're going to we have more grace. We're more subdued. You see all these boss bitches, they're crashing out. They're loud as hell. They just got evil spirits attached to them, right? And I rebuke these bras. I don't have anything to do with women that have mentalities like that, because it's satanic at its core. It's satanic at its core. And I know it's like the feminists, they have really just demonized these women's minds. And I think if you were to really kind of peel back the layer, we do a great job of making women like these. And we are very precious, among humanity. We are the ones who we are needed to further humanity. But the reality is, men are more special than women. They will always be more special than women because, again, I heard a great analogy. You put one woman on an island with 1,000 men, and basically she'd die, right? Right? Humanity would die with that one woman, basically. But if you put one man on an island with 1,000 women, right, humanity survives, right? Even with women carrying the life does not happen without men. And that's just what it is. Life does not happen without men. Even these women out here saying, I'm going to be a mom without a man, you still about to go get somebody's sperm. You still about to go get a man's sperm to make that happen, baby, if you're not adopting. So it's a very interesting spirit that Satan has fostered in these. You was like, are you listening to Cardi B talk? I don't know. She's not the most intelligent, sharpest tool in the shed to me. I actually hate hearing Cardi B talk. It's like, why do they give the ignorant so much platform to rant? It's like needles on a chalkboard when you hear her talking, right? Yep, there are many gods to them. Yep, I'm telling you. So check out Paradise Lost, because I think when we're talking about those many gods, right, What was the mission of Satan and the fallen? They were like, we are going to make ourselves gods. We are going to make people worship us. And this is where you get these sick, deviant music and Hollywood folks, right? They're always attached with child pedophilia and all kinds of atrocious things. There's so many things that happen in this world that I think we would never be shocked about it, but it would still be shocking that humans are inclined to do the things that some of these people do to other human beings for power. Um, and, we just pray for everybody. But again, we see what we see. But on the surface, there's just so much defiled things. And that's why I am ready for that flood 2.0, right? I'm ready for us to have the days of Noah, for real. She has an annoying voice. I mean, I don't know why we have to endure people like Cardi B. Like, who are her bloodlines? Like, who are her parents? Usually, when you have these non-talented people just in our faces, right? They're either an overinvestment that the music industry has, and they're really trying to make it work with the public and squeeze as many coins as they can out of it, or she's family members or connected with somebody, or maybe she's one of them little trafficking folks that they're just making famous, right? You're going to be a star after that's your reward for dealing with trafficking. I don't know. I just don't understand why we see Cardi B anymore. She's not talented. She's not talented. But I wouldn't take relationship advice from Cardi B at all. I wouldn't take how to be a woman advice from Cardi B at all, because I mean, again, she's part of that flagrant, ignorant harlot class of women who are just promoting debauchery and disrespect to the divine balance. You can't be a God-fearing woman and you disrespect the divine balance. Convincing these women, right? Like, this is basically what she's doing. Misery loves company. Her man is out here cheating on the block, all this stuff, right? And all these women can do is just over elevate themselves, right? Cardi B is not a 10. She can believe that if she wants to, but she's not a 10. I think her surgery helped her to be like an 8, right? But again, she's not the most attractive, fair-skinned person. And I think that's one thing that Cardi needs to recognize is she is not the best looking Hispanic woman, right? She's right? But in the age of ratchet rap bitches, right? They're not pulling the most attractive women. Look at Sexy Red. She looks like Raj from What's Happening. It's like they reincarnated Raj and made Sexy Red. And I'm just sitting up there like, I see what you guys are doing here. You don't have to be super duper attractive to societal standards. Even Glorilla. Like Glorilla, I'm still trying to figure out is that if that they're trying to pull the old okey doke on us and if that's really a young man. No stab to Glorilla, but it's like everything about her to me just gives trans for some reason. I don't know why. And the girl probably not even transgender, but she looks like one to me. But I've been accused of looking like a transgender Glorilla, so sorry about that, sis. But you do look like a little boy. And they did start making her look more feminine with the boobs. They're probably gonna have to give her some hip surgery because she don't got childbearing hips. All right. And I know some women who they're tiny framed, right? And they're kind of up and down, boxy kind of shape. She's one of those. And I see them with these hood girls, that body type is normal. It's the malnutrition. Let me stop. It's that malnutrition body, right? And she did talk about being hungry sometimes. So she just got that malnutrition underdeveloped body where it's almost like a Olympic person, right? Those gymnasts, right? Gymnasts have the worst bodies. They have the worst bodies to me. They're just awful looking. You know, the best you're ever going to get a gymnast body is when they stop doing all that to themselves. But anyways, you guys, all praises to the God in heaven, Yahuwah. Thanks to those who have tuned in. I just wanted to finish that Paradise Lost thing. Now, I have another research project. I have another curiosity, right? So if you got a pen and paper, right, we're going to do some group. This is a group project for those who tune in to my blog, right? I don't think nothing is a mistake. Okay, that's first of all. I think there are certain things that everything happens for a reason. Whether it's our reason, some other reason, it happens for a reason. So I was just curious, right? And I do believe that America is a very satanic nation. I believe that we are the belly of the beast. I believe that Satan is the ruler of this nation, right? America, 7 letters, right? I had this mindset, like, what does America spell backwards? ACIREMA, right? So Google ACIREMA, right? And when you Google that, there's some really interesting things that come up about a North American tribe that is, to me, very ritualistic in everything that they do, right? And it's interesting, this ACIREMA tribe, right? You don't know too much about them, right? But again, this nation is very occultist, right? And if you ever wanted to just indulge in, maybe some secret meaning behind this country, right? I would start by, researching America backwards, if you will, right? And see what you come up with. This is they call it the necrosirma. I don't know how to pronounce this, but this is a North American occultist group. I do love Yahusha the King. But anyways, you guys, let me get back to the chat, but I'll put it in the chat too. But this, I find that, look at what you find on this. And just have fun, right? Exploring how demonic this nation really is, right? All right. So, anyways, you guys, that's all I got. YouTube has been hella suppressing my live streams. It's insane. I think it's the devil too, because the devil do not want us talking. He don't want us kind of weaving out some of the manipulations in his beloved country, America, and beyond the world. But, again, the timeline is what the timeline is, right? And Daniel's prophecy is in full motion, right? Bible prophecy is alive and well. And I pray for everybody, right? Satan is going to do his best to distract us with a lot of BS, right? So that we don't understand or even gravitate towards the truth. And a lot of times his minions, disguised as these clergymen, right? These demons dressed in cloaks, these apostates, they're distracting people from, the real truth. And the real truth is that judgment is upon the nations, and they definitely deserve it, especially that horrid Israel. And I don't like Candace Owens at all, but she was on Piers Morgan earlier. He was drilling her about her perspective ideas on Israel, and I do agree with her on that, right? Long as she ain't talking about black folks, I don't care what she's talking about. But the position on Israel, I do agree with her on that. I think what mankind is looking at is a mockery of the scriptures, and those people will be dealt with accordingly. Some of them are already being dealt with because they're probably getting skin cancer and all kinds of things, because the sons of Japheth should not be there. And that's who is occupying their lands. Those are not sons of Ham or Shem, those are sons of Japheth. And when you go and examine the book, the whole entire Bible, it is centered on the sons of Ham and Shem, not Japheth, not the Europeans, right? So I think they needed their glory, right? And they got with some of those scribes, Pharisees, and Sanhedrins, and they wanted to mock the scripture in 48. But again, it was prophesied. It was actually prophesied that that land would be risen from desolation from the nations, right? It happened in Ezekiel, and because they're mocking the scriptures, right, it's going to happen today. So y'all better be careful from Gog, right? Gog of the land of Magog, right? There's a reason why they hate Russia so much, because even in Bible prophecy, it was put in the hearts of those people in those regions to move on Israel. So you guys want to mock the scriptures, right? The outcome is going to be the same. The outcome will absolutely be the same. And, shame on the Zionists for allowing these lies to be perpetuated. But again, Satan, this is Satan's world. This is Satan's world. And a lot of people have been deceived and manipulated, and their heart is going to grow cold in God's world, in this Satan's world, right? Because they don't have firm faith. So it's easy to turn their hearts cold towards God. So we'll see how these folks play out as we reach the conclusion of this system of things. I'm going to drop a link in this chat. Ray Dalio has this documentary called Changing World Order. And I contrast Ray Dalio's, because he's talking about the financial systems, and he was talking about the historical collapses of different world empires, right? But Ray is actually saying some really interesting things that, from a biblical perspective, I don't think he realized that he's touching on the rise and the falls of these empires, and even through the lens of Daniel's prophecy, right? Even though he's giving a secular account of the rise and falls of these human empires from a financial standpoint, right? He's really echoing Daniel's prophecy in so many different ways. And I don't think he realized how, his timeline, breaking down financial crises throughout, I think he covered the last 500 years. I think it just really reveals, the validity of that statue in Daniel's prophecy that talks about the degrading of the world empires as we got down to the foot. And again, the feet mixed with iron and clay is really those fragmented, broken Anglo-Saxon, Jute, dual war powers, fragments of Rome mixed with the new beast, which is America, and its little horn, Israel. These nations will always be in union. America will always be at the mercy of Israel, and vice versa, because they are of the same beast. And Daniel chapter 8, verses 3 tells us that when he saw the second beast, it had two horns. Typically, a beast in the Bible, when you're talking about horns, you're talking about nations. And one horn was bigger than the other horn, right? That big horn represents America, because even according to Daniel's prophecy, it grows up later, right? Israel was established already. It was just brought out of desolation, right? And that is why they are that smaller horn on the second beast, because America and Israel are in union. They will conquer together. They will fall together. And that is how these nations work. So anybody talking about, oh, we got AIPAC, we got this, we got that, bro, if you guys really understood the deeper meaning of Bible prophecy, you will realize that these nations are part of a bigger picture, and they're always going to be friends. They're always going to be friends. They are always going to be friends. The United States will always enable and support anything that Israel does. And that's just how Satan's world works. But anyways, I have the devil in my last name, but in German, it means to hunt the devil. I have uncle who is Catholic priest in the Virgin Islands. Okay. All right. I'm not Catholic. I don't associate with organized religions. I think that they are led by apostates and Satanists. But I am a disciple of Christ. That's what I consider myself. I think that Messiah came to make disciples, not followers. Um, so, and disciples need to learn the word of God in order to be able to teach it. You said my wife has 3 uncles who are priests. 2 are is it Monsignors? I don't know what that is. Monsignors? To each their own. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't disrespect people who practice other faiths. I think that, one thing that I don't do is I don't run around saying that we all believe in the same God and that we all are striving and understanding the same things, because we're not. And I don't walk around with any type of supremacy of my belief systems. I just believe that my belief systems are more in line with the God of Abraham and, his words from his scrolls of remembrance. And so I operate like that. And when you look at history, you look at how the Abrahamic faith was defiled, specifically in Rome. I stay as far away from Catholicism as I possibly can, so that's for other people, it's not for me. So there's that. I don't like the crosses. I think crosses are very pagan. They're very pagan. And nowhere in the ancient text are you going to find our Lord, Messiah, or anybody instructing man to create a symbol of anything. That was not an instruction. So mankind took it upon themselves to create a symbol, right? And not only did they create the symbol, this symbol was inspired by an imperialist who was a pagan, who claimed that he was a convert, but he was practicing Satanism. He was a Nicolaitan. Constantine was a Nicolaitan. He understood the power of eating at the table of God and eating at the table of demons, because he could win elections eating at the table of God. You can win elections eating at the table of God. And that's why I said I feel like Trump was pulling a card from the Constantine. He was pulling the Constantine card. So I watch how these things parallel and play out. There's nothing new under the sun. My God is in heaven. He is the creator. His name is Yahuwah, and his son name is Yahusha, and he is the king right now. And I give all praises to the king in heaven and the creator, Yahuwah and Yahusha. So that's my belief systems. I don't use anything in my worship. I use my consciousness. That's it. No, I did not say that. See, I said Nicolaitans or Nicolaitans, N-I-C. Nicolaitans, or people who follow the Balaam doctrine. You may know them as prosperity doctrine Christians. These people are overt money worshipers, overt power hungry people with the spirit of Satan, right? And they will have people believe that God wants them focused on acquiring wealth in Satan's world. And how many mega churches are out here in these streets spreading that Satanism to the hearts of these vulnerable Christians? And they're using hypnosis to do it. I was looking at that, somebody was reviewing that Joel Osteen guy, and they were analyzing his methods, if you will. And a lot of these people are using forms of hypnosis. And when you're using, first of all, if you're a real Christian, don't ever let anybody hypnotize you, right? Right? Hypnosis is very, very demonic. You don't have a lot of control. And when you are opening your minds up to the suggestions of other people, you are also opening your mind up to the suggestions of demons and other forces. And so I would never encourage people to have fun with hypnosis. I do yoga poses, but I don't do yoga mindset consciousness type of stuff like that. I don't open my mind to anything random. And so mind control is an art form. And I think, with God's help, you can definitely, protect your mind is what I tell people. Protect your mind because again, MK Ultra, it works with the planting of seeds, suggestion, right? Showing you an image to create the reality of something satanic. So just guard your hearts, guard your minds. Anyways, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. I mean, we all, you know, we see all the controversies and perversions because we have so much media coverage, but it could well have been what it is now for hundreds of years. You mean that you said I have wondered how long it's been rotten as an establishment. Um, So are you talking about Israel, like the modern day Israel? Because I think it's important for people to understand that the Israel in the Bible is a people, right? It's not a land, right? And I think that conflation is what causes confusion, just like saying that a Jew is a nationality and not just a religion, right? So you have a lot of people conflating things, right, to create some type of validity of a lie. And I think that's the first step that people need to realize is that um, the modern day Israel, right, is not a holy land, right? The Zionist Christians, the Zionist Jews make it a holy land, but even Messiah, you're talking about he died in Rome, right? And when Messiah died, Israel was not holy. Even the temple was prophesied to be destroyed, and it was destroyed. The Romans came in and gave Jerusalem the business in the war between Jerusalem and Rome. And if you look at the secular history of that, you have the Jewish historian Josephus, right? He even said that the Romans did not intend to burn down the second temple, right? They thought it was kind of something that could, they wanted to be more of a monument or something like that, right? They didn't want to, but somehow those Roman soldiers gave that second temple the business and it was destroyed. It took 3 days to burn to the ground as Jesus prophesied that it would, right? See that when he made that statement to his prophets about this temple being, you know, torn down in 3 days, right? They thought that it was symbolic for his body, but it was also really literal for the temple because he was prophesying that that temple would be destroyed. And nowhere in the Bible do we read after the second temple was destroyed that there will be another temple erected. The only temple that we're waiting for now is the holiest of temple, which is not going to be until after judgment hour, meaning that this earth is going to be destroyed, right? We won't get the replacement of the earthly governments until all of the wicked are destroyed on this earth. And there are a lot of wicked people. I had a guy come in and say that Satan was defeated yesterday in my live stream. He says Satan is defeated. And I'm like, I don't think Satan is defeated, right? I don't think he's defeated at all, right? I feel like mankind is more wicked than ever, right? Mankind is capable of destroying, other mankind and creation to way broader degrees than they've ever had before, right? I think mankind worships itself. It worships money. It worships false gods. Satan is winning, okay? In the battle of the hearts of man. He has won. He has won, right? Satan is not even worried about, most of humanity right now because he has his eyes on God's servants, the people who are not into the rebellion. That's what he's centered on right now because, again, misery loves company. And Satan is trying to take as many people as he possibly can out of the game. And like I said, go back to that demonologist I was talking about. This dude is saying that they are preparing for war, right? They are preparing for war. All right? Those Vulcans, the fallen angels are preparing for war. That's what they're preparing for, right? They got their little minions out here distracting humans with this and that. But the demonologist said they are preparing for war. What war? And you know, I would say look at Daniel's timeline, because just as much as we humans who study the Bible prophecies are conscious of the timeline of mankind, they are the master priests. You know, these fallen angels, they know the Bible way better than any human being on this earth. They just do. They know the ancient text better than anybody. So they're able to skew it. They're able to distract from it in very crafty ways. So that's why, always do a prayer before you start studying and ask for the deeper meanings of things. What's going on, Ghetto Planet? I see you. You said modern Israel is ancient Canaan. It really is. It really is. These people, some of those people have those wicked, wicked spirits, right? And remember, Sodom and Gomorrah were in the land of Canaan. They were in the land of Canaan. They were in the land of Canaan, but I think people have been manipulated. They've been confused. Obviously, the different churches will place a significant on that land. And obviously, some of these Zionist, Talmudic type of folks, no disrespect to the Torah Jews, because I do believe that they might be somewhat less satanic than their counterparts. But the Talmudic Jews, these Zionists, along with their Christian Zionist folks of the Catholic faith, some of them, right? They out here lying to folks and placing a significance on that place that is just not biblically there. Those people aren't even Semites, because real Semites are originators of the Africa or Middle East, not Europe. Converts, religion, nationality, ancestry, those are not all the same thing, right? Real Semites are melanated people. They're deeply melanated people. They are not the sons of Japheth. They're not the Europeans. That's why, again, look up the number one issue in Israel right now, and you're going to see skin cancer, skin issues, because those people shouldn't be there, because they're not God's people. But anyways, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm sure that the Talmuds are out there. That's anti-Semitic, man. Y'all making the Jews look really bad. The Talmudic Jews are a threat to the Jews. That's just my opinion. The Talmudic Jews, they are the real threats to every Jew in the world. And they consequently, they have the most influence. Lucifer has already lost and wants to take as many of God's creation down with him as possible. He's definitely lost in terms of he understands his fate, right? And it goes back to Paradise Lost in the beginning, where they conceded that they have no chance in the Great War. They know that they don't have a chance. Really, you have fallen angels who are operating with nothing to lose. Nothing to lose, right? And that's pretty much what we're dealing with. So you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. I think that we should have these types of conversation. Even if you don't understand it, hey, pop in, increase your understanding. It's better than talking about some of this other BS in the world anyway. So, if you did content like this, definitely subscribe. We can keep chopping it up. And again, our group project, I see you, Be Strong, and give some love to a lot of our regulars. Ghetto Planet, Be Strong. Let me shout out my favorite, Brian Toller. I see you. Mark Jag, I see you. I see you. And we don't have to agree on everything, guys. Anybody who follows this content, they know I am not about to argue you down about your beliefs, right? I'm going to put my beliefs on the table. I'm going to justify my beliefs. If you can do the same, that's great, right? And we can have some great debates about this and that. We always ask, and y'all know, my regulars, leave your emotions on the table. We don't tolerate overtly disrespect or demonic people. We'll get your ass out of here really quickly, right? Because we rebuke demons over here. We rebuke demons and demonic spirited people over here all day long. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope all of you have a wonderful day. Monica, I see you too. Be strong. All prayers up. All praises to the God in heaven, Yahuwah, and the King Yahusha. Amen. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you would not disrespect or abuse yourself, do not disrespect or abuse your neighbor. This is very, very important, you guys. And I'm not telling people to run around having pridefulness about themselves. But what I am telling people to do is, as a person who has a love for myself, I don't disrespect myself. I acknowledge when I'm wrong. I make corrections, right? I don't have this exaggerated mindset about what my over 40-year-old body should be, and it makes me feel all some kind of way that I'm not snatched in the waist like some of these folks, or looking like, loving yourself means understanding the qualities that you give to other human beings. I love when I'm interacting with people, and I have a number of clients that I interact with every day, and my mission is to make that person feel better, make that person feel smarter with every exchange that we have. So if you're saying, oh, I'm down and out, I'm in a hospital, I'm going to say, I'm praying for you. And I truly will pray for you. As soon as I get off the phone, I will say, Lord, we all going through something, right? But please be with that woman and her family and everything. I don't know this woman, right? But that's the kind of person I am, right? And that's what I love about myself, and that's what I love about other people who are like that. You are giving good energy to other people, and you don't wake up thinking about how can I screw somebody over? How can I, make somebody else feel bad about themselves, right? Tell the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and be bold enough to say it. I don't mind people telling the truth. I just want people to have conviction with the truth that they say, and I want them to make sure that they're not, I want to make sure that they're just not on some bandwagon saying stuff. A lot of people on bandwagons, and a lot of those bandwagons are full of ignorance. So get off the bandwagon of ignorance, you guys. Get out of that groupthink and herd mentality. And I will catch you on the next one. Bye. Why don't you want to end? Oh, there we go.